to the chase. Word a sense of thrill, bit of John are here and take time stand still. Diving deep where others just pretend. Think of kind on the journey, chase and descent. Descent. True hits of stride, don't be content. Join the chase, be omnipresent. With Ben and John, no time is misspent. On the trail, with chasing descent. Join the chase, be omnipresent. With Ben and John, no time is misspent. On the trail with Chase It Descent. Descent.
The people are panicking about spontaneous combustion. That's why I've assembled this crack team of scientists to find out the cause of the phenomenon. You are the best scientists.
We are the best scientific minds, of course we are. So what we're talking about tonight is, if you haven't gathered, human combustion. Spontaneous human combustion. So yeah, it's I don't think it's a tricky subject. I think it's something that has occurred, and it's something that does occur and will continue to occur. And just there are a variety of different explanations for it, and we will go through them. Have you ever experienced spontaneous human? I don't mean, well, having said that, and we'll get to this, but people have survived it.
I've only ever heard of it. It's stories that, stories. I haven't really seen anything like pictures. The only pictures that I've seen are people who have actually self-immolated. And set themselves on fire. But yeah, I mean, personally, I think the world is crazy enough that I'm, as always, prepared to entertain any possibilities. And good evening, by the way.
Oh, good evening. Good evening. Sorry, I feel like I've been on for an hour because I was watching Ben on the other channel as he's doing the politics stuff. You know, the question
yeah,
time
that
crap.
boring election nonsense.
Yeah, boring election nonsense. But hey, some people like that shit. But anyway, good evening, chat room. Johnny John, good to see you again, mate. Beats and tapes, nice to come over. Dreadeye and Julie, love you guys. Right, so I've been at a few burnings.
But what?
I've been at a few
Well, yeah,
burnings.
okay. But is that what Scottish people call a fucking bonfire or something?
No. Remember my previous occupation, right?
Oh, policeman,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So I have attended a few burnings, and I have attended one in particular, in which it was an elderly woman, probably a smoker, probably liked the odd drink, don't we all? You know, and she was sitting in a chair watching the telly, and she had, I wouldn't say she'd spontaneously combusted. I think what happened is she's dropped a cigarette while she's passed out through alcohol, or she's had a heart attack and died. And the wick effect has taken over. And we'll discuss the wick effect as well, because that seems to be a real thing.
Yeah, it does, and I mean that. It's certainly the mainstream explanation for stories about what is thought to be spontaneous human combustion. I mean, we are kind of, as we like to do, knocking up against the laws of thermodynamics as well.
Well, yes and no, because there are some incidences, and I know I'm teasing an awful lot here, but we'll come on to them as well. There are some instances that the wick effect cannot explain.
Interesting.
So anyway, as I said, I was at this burning, and it followed kind of most of the pattern, in that the woman was indeed badly burnt, although she wasn't charred to nothing, which a lot of people are saying that's what happens. You know, you get a large pool of ashes, and usually the lower legs, which don't tend to have a lot of fat on them anyway, and are always below the seat of fire if someone's sitting, say. So you would expect, if anything's going to survive, it would be the lower legs, and that does appear to be the case on most occasions. This woman she was badly burned. She, I suspect she had died prior to the burning starting, but the overwhelming smell was of roast pork.
I was going to ask. I mean, just on a purely human level,
Yeah.
that must have been an utterly horrific thing to have to experience.
Well, yes and no. I was starving because I hadn't had my dinner yet, and bloody hell!
Sake. Oh my god! You bloody cannibal! Holy shit!
No, nobody. I mean, have you ever spoke to?
That was with that little old lady that just burned to death in her chair, and all I could think about was a bacon sandwich. What the hell?
Have you ever spoken to surgeons or doctors?
No.
I knew a girl who was she was a trainee surgeon, and she said the biggest problem she found in the operating theatre was not salivating at the sight of all the fresh meat.
I.
Yeah.
That's but then when you think about it, on a purely kind of monkey brain, sort of primitive level,
Reptile brain even.
Reptile brain more than monkey brain. Actually, that's what happens when you see. I mean, I walk past the steak counter in the supermarket and definitely salivate. But that's just creepy and weird. That must be. I guess the first time it happens to a surgeon, they probably go home and have this dark night of the soul about it, and have to kind of contend with the fact that they've just been sitting there with a half cut up human, and all they can think about is barbecuing a steak. Human beings are just messed up.
Well, yeah, we are. But I mean, I think we accept that, don't we? And we accept ourselves for our faults. But anyway, let's see what this is meant to be about. So let's drop into our little video scenes, And we'll start with Kenny, as always, as you would.
Go, Kenny. You gonna see your little girlfriend again? Dude, you spend way too much time with that girl.
So Kenny emulated there, and he did it pretty quickly. I wouldn't have expected, spontaneous human combustion to affect anyone so quickly. I don't know if you've seen this South Park episode. I don't watch South Park, but Ben put me onto this.
I don't recall that one specifically. I'm not an enormous fan of South Park, but I do watch it sometimes, and
Yeah.
I do find the humor utterly hilarious. I mean, some of them just have me in complete stitches.
Yeah, so they have their own theory, and the theory that they actually come out with, which we will go through in this, because I did say that spontaneous human combustion was brought to you not only this evening by myself and the wonderful Ed the Techie, look him up on Twitter, but also by South Park. So anyway, number 2 of the Kenny.
What the hell happened to him?
He just ignited.
What happened?
I saw it from across the street. He just caught on fire.
So yeah, and this has happened. And you think most people, and I watched I don't know if you watched the Y-Files episode on spontaneous human combustion. It was about a year ago.
Probably not then.
And AJ's pretty good at this kind of stuff, and this was before I became what would you call it? Disenchanted with him when he started going heavy on the AI. Now I don't know if he's laid off it a bit, but
It depends on the episode. I think he's using it as filler, but I think he's kind of learning. It's like one of those things that you discover a new toy and you use it for everything, and then over time you realize that actually you don't need to overdo it quite so much, and you kind of dial it back a bit and give him time. I mean, fundamentally, I think his shows are superb.
Oh,
I mean,
they're excellent.
The production value, the research, his
Although his spontaneous human combustion one was a bit lacking in research, and a bit too quick to debunk.
Okay, I haven't watched it. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, well, watch it after we've been through this, because you may open your eyes to many things that that he hasn't thought about. So spontaneous human combustion does tend to affect. Well, there's 2 types, right? So you seem to get the person who has near a source of ignition, either a cigarette or an open fire or something, or a candle or something like that. So they're near a source of ignition. They've usually had a drink or whatever, or they're on some kind of medication, or they have like a medical episode, like a heart attack or something like that. And the fire takes hold, and they slowly, over a number of hours, I mean, you need at least 12 to 16 hours before the body will start to actually just disappear. And over a number of hours, the body will consume itself, because the fire, as long as the fire can get a grip on the wick material, which is going to be the clothing, right?
And the fat in the body, once you get
Well,
down to it.
Once the fire breaks the skin and the fat starts to render out, that then becomes a fuel. And one of the things is there's always a thick, sooty, greasy layer in the room. And I can testify to that. I have seen that thick, greasy layer, and it's not attractive.
You feel sorry for the poor bastards that have to go in and clean it up afterwards.
Well, yeah. But the other thing is, anything low down in the room is completely unaffected, because heat rises. So if this is burning, the spot above the body on the ceiling is usually quite well burnt. But the rest of the room, there's a kind of halfway, well, it's a graduation. The higher up you get, the darker the soot and grease gets. But generally, like the carpet, even sometimes the chair the person's sitting on is almost entirely unaffected.
That's creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy.
You could think how, I don't know, people living 100, 200 years ago, because it's the same at the end of the day. I mean, people were still smoking and burning themselves to death in their houses 200 years ago. But overall scientific knowledge wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And so if you were to come across a situation like that as a I don't know, in that sort of time period, then something like that could easily be ascribed to spontaneous human combustion or the work of the devil or whatever.
Yeah, and these ones tend to have occurred always, nearly always, when the person's alone, and someone will discover it at some later
Well,
point.
yeah, because usually if you're not alone, then the
Oh
person that
yeah,
you're with will
yeah.
try and put the bloody fire out,
But the
rather than
ones,
sit there barbecuing
yeah,
marshmallows while Granny's burning to death. What the hell?
exactly. It's like, I mean, it's like, you know, you I mean, what do you do if someone's having a medical episode? It's like, I mean, someone has an epileptic fit in the bath. You don't throw the washing in, you know, you help them. But anyway, that was a joke for the purposes
Well,
of
no, but
YouTube censors.
we have to make jokes about this a bit because the whole thing's so bloody horrible,
And it's
that,
quite scary.
and it's icky as well. I mean,
Yeah, but it's
bacon and
scary because
greasy
can
soot.
this happen to you? And it
Well,
could. It could. Right? Because it gets even scarier once we delve into maybe other reasons for it.
well, let's just say you're more likely to die in a plane crash.
Oh
or
yeah, yeah.
something else.
I mean,
win the lottery maybe.
let me make a disclaimer, a non-medical disclaimer, but this is rare. It's not unknown, but it's rare. In fact, I would say it's uncommon. It's not even just rare; it's uncommon. But if it does happen, you know, then well, it happened. But the one that gets me is the ones that occur in front of witnesses. These are the ones that are really hard to discount. I mean, okay, we'll go back to the 1700s, and apparently they were having dinner in a castle or whatever, you know, at the banquet table, and the woman gave a big belch, and then flame erupted from her mouth, and they put it out or whatever, and in fact, it might have been the 1800s because she went to hospital and died like 3 or 4 days later.
Well, I guess in theory, I don't know if you did she burp into a candle?
Oh,
Because if you have
everybody's saying she was just sitting at the table, and you know, I don't
she
know.
let out a belch and then just burst
Yeah.
into flame. Well, just if we break this down logically, there has to be an ignition source. I mean, she's not doing some sort of, I don't know, meditation or mantra or some sort of
Well,
weird,
does there have
weird
to be an
something.
ignition source? That's the first
Well,
point. Because if you think about it, things like have you ever oiled wood? What a question.
Not recently.
Right. So, but if you've oiled wood, you know, like using teak oil or Danish oil or something like that, and you get a rag, you put oil on the rag and then you stroke it up and down your wood. Should we start an OnlyFans
Can we-
channel?
How about no?
Right. So yeah. So once you've finished oiling your wood, right? What do you do with a rag? Now the worst thing you can do with a rag is put it in the bin. Okay? Can't put the rag in the bin because what happens is these oils, as they dry, right, attract oxygen atoms from the atmosphere, bind with them, and can quite quickly reach the point of combustion. So they actually spontaneously combust into fire. And the amount of houses that have been burned down from their garages because someone's been out oiling wood and just carelessly discarded a rag.
Well, I totally believe that because I mean there are metals that do that as well. Nickel, I think, nickel concentrate. When it's transported, they have to pump nitrogen into whatever the hold is. It's usually transported around in ships, and once they put the nickel in the hold, they have to displace the oxygen because nickel can spontaneously combust. So that actually proves that under certain conditions, the right sort of elements could, in theory, spontaneously combust. Now,
Yeah.
how that applies to a woman sitting at a dinner table,
Okay.
I I don't know.
Right, so the other one that got me was the guy who was sitting in, I think this was in the 70s in America, Kentucky or somewhere like that. And he's having a chat. He said he was having a great time with his mate. They were chatting away. And suddenly he caught fire.
Right, as you do.
His arm and chest here caught fire, right? And his mate helped him and they got the fire out. And he went to hospital and he had burns. And the doctor said, this is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen because it's almost like the fire erupted from underneath the skin rather than burnt the skin in.
That's some proper X-Files shit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, how might that happen? I mean, there's got to be.
Well, that's the interesting part that
I mean,
we'll come to.
if things just spontaneously combusted really easily, then it would be happening all the time.
Well, no one's saying it happens easily, but I think there are particular circumstances that may cause it, right?
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, but so the last or one of the most intriguing one is the guy who spontaneously combusted in his flat in Florida, and the landlord had been round and spoken to him, and he came back about an hour later or something, and saw smoke coming from the window. Went up to the door, and the door handle was hot, right? So he opened the door gingerly and smoke came out. And there was a pile of ash in front of the cooker where the guy had been cooking, right? But it was a pile of ash. There was a pot on the cooker boiling that still had water in it. So this guy burned in less than an hour to ash. That's one weird shit.
Well, I mean, the temperatures required for that. If you think about cremations,
Yeah,
and because I mean they basically burn the body and the coffin down to ash, bones, and everything else.
yeah. Well, they're talking about 1,000 degrees for 2 hours or something.
Yeah, but then how the hell does that happen to some dude in his kitchen?
Well, that's the question, sir.
And the
That's
rest
the
of
question.
the building hasn't burnt down as well. I mean, because you would think that someone who was burning in that way would actually let off a considerable amount of heat as well. And probably
Someone's just said drinking spirits can reduce the quantity of water in your body quite considerably and make you more prone to burning. Sorry, Ed.
No. I mean, that's
so,
alcohol for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that it does seem to be a common theme, and that is one of the theories. One of the theories is that if you drink alcohol, you are dehydrating yourself because the liver has to deal. Alcohol's a poison, so you have to deal with alcohol very promptly. So your liver deals with it on the preference basis, right? So it goes for it first, and it has to use water to transmute it into some other form, and then you can basically urinate it out, and your body's pretty efficient doing this. But it will lose a certain degree of water while it's doing it, so you can get dehydrated. So you will reduce your regular amount of water, but you're still going to be mainly water. But
I mean, yeah, because we're what 90%, 98% water.
But don't think of water, right, in the way that you think about it. Because remember, what is water, Ed?
H2O.
Yeah, H2O.
Dihydrogen monoxide.
Yeah, so it's one hydrogen and two oxygen molecules, right? Or two oxygen atoms. Yeah,
dihydrogen
right.
monoxide.
And what are both of those things? They're both highly flammable when they're not combined as water.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's a stretch. I mean, if it
there's
was
more.
easy to split hydrogen and oxygen from water, we would all be driving around in super efficient water-powered cars.
The guy that came up with that died.
No, I know. Well, okay, so maybe it is super easy to split them.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's easier than we think. And maybe
Yeah,
our
but-
bodies can do it.
Well, so the water molecules in the person's body somehow split, and then you get hydrogen and oxygen, and that then combusts, and that then causes a spontaneous combustion. Is that your theory?
No, that's not my theory. We haven't reached my theories. My theory is cutting edge science, mate. That's just one of the mainstream theories about
Right.
the causes of spontaneous human combustion. It's one of the old theories. Mine is cutting edge. Mine has never been seen before, never published before, never discussed before. I haven't seen it anywhere. Right? I came up with it all on my own last night. See?
Right. Okay.
Because I'm smart. Big brain.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Right, so we've had two theories. We've had the Wick effect, and the BBC did. Do you remember the BBC documentary when they did the Wick effect and they got a pig? They got a dead pig and wrapped it in a blanket. A pig in a blanket. Right, and then they dropped a cigarette on it, and the cigarette smouldered and smouldered and smouldered, and nothing ever happened. It just smouldered and smouldered, and then so they went in and started fanning it. Right. So you imagine two scientists. Pardon me, excuse me. Two scientists fanning a dead pig in a blanket has had a cigarette end dropped on it. Right, so they're fanning it and they get a fire going, right? And eventually the wick effect starts to take effect. So the skin's ruptured, the fat's oozing out, is leaching into the blanket, which then becomes the wick. And this burned for 12 hours, no problem, right? But all it did was make barbecue. The pig wasn't reduced to ash. You know, the skin was charred, but inside it was basically barbecued pig. You know? So 12 hours isn't long enough to reduce a body to ash. So how can you explain this guy in Florida who reduced himself to ash in less than an hour? That's incredible.
Well, if he was standing in front of the cooker, then maybe some sort of accidental gas eruption from the oven.
Yeah, mate, but
then if there was a
I
flamethrower coming out of the oven for some reason, then it would burn everything else in the room
Exactly.
as well.
Yeah, and you have to remember that would need to be on him for an hour or so to make him ash. You know, because it takes a long time to dry a human body out and burn it down to nothing. In fact, crematoria don't even burn you down to nothing. They have to use a mechanical grinder to break up the bones.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. That's why. See, I can't go
Hang
there.
on. So your loved ones get run through a mincer and then burnt.
It's not a mincer. It's a mechanical. It's a mechanical grind. You know, it's like it's like something you put a car through, except it's for bones.
Oh right, that makes it more pleasant. One of those like things that turns the car into a cube.
Yeah, but just think a big wheel.
Right, no,
you know how when they destroy hard drives, it's a bit like that. You know that thing, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's
Okay.
what they do. Yeah, they do
Right,
that.
so yeah, that's put a new perspective on. Jesus, I genuinely didn't know that, and having experienced death a fair few times in my life, I'm actually rather shocked. Holy crap! I thought
A wheel grinder. That's exactly it, Ray. You're right. It is a wheel grinder.
Oh, right. So if you happen to not be dead for some reason, you don't even actually ever get to find out whether you're going to get burnt alive because you get smashed to bits by this bloody.
No, the ash falls through the grate and the bones are just left on top and they just get scooped into the grinder and then added to the ashes. And then you get a tub, which is surprisingly freaking heavy.
Oh, hang on. So they grind the bones up after you've been cremated?
Yes, after you've been cremated.
Oh, I thought they put the whole bloody body through some sort
No,
of crusher.
no. Just the bones. Because
Crying out loud.
they cremate you for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. And that still isn't enough to destroy all the bones. So then they have to mechanically grind the bones.
So that makes this story about the guy being found. How do we know that pile of ash was in fact the dude? Was it DNA tested
Feet.
or something? His feet. So his feet are still there.
His feet, lower legs were still there.
Oh,
The
shit.
feet are always there. That's what I mean. AJ said if you're gonna if you're gonna be partial to a drink, you're overweight and you're smoking, and make sure you've got good shoes on, because that's probably the only thing that's going to be left.
Oh dear. I mean, that. How does that happen? It defies. It
I've got a
defies
theory.
my abilities to try. Get on with it because this is
No.
making my noodle.
We're only at 1/2 hour.
Oh right, okay. You're gonna
So
make
there's
us
plenty
wait.
of time. So that's what's that? That's two theories we've had. One with the wick effect, which is kind of been discredited. Like the one I was at, the burning I attended, it definitely worked on that one. But things like where there's just a pile of ash left, then the wick effect's not going to do that. There's not enough time. And then there's the alcohol reducing the amount of water. And I don't think that works either, because it doesn't reduce the water by enough to make it's not like you go, like a White Walker or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, a lot of the water in our bodies is locked up in our cells and everything else.
Exactly. So the next one is the next one's ketosis. So this is acetone. So acetone is quite highly flammable, and some people have said that when they've seen people that have spontaneously combusted, and we've got reports from people like firemen who put out a homeless guy who had flame coming from his abdomen.
Well, see, that was because he was trying to drink meths or something.
It's a possibility. He might have spilt meths on him. These things could have happened, right? But yeah. So the next theory is acetone, because you're in ketosis. If you're in ketosis, you've reduced your sugar and carbohydrate intake to the point where your body is burning your body fat, which is great because it's using it for energy, and that's fantastic because you're losing weight and you're burning. And I've done keto diet and it works. It works really well. But the thing is, you produce ketones, and one of those ketones is acetone.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So if you do like a urine test or whatever, you'll find that there are ketones in your urine, and one of them would be acetone. And the theory then is that the acetone somehow gets ignited, right?
Okay.
But the theory's a bit sketchy on how that would happen and how that would be a self-sustaining reaction. Because there's only a certain degree of acetone there.
Yeah.
Although it is spread out throughout your entire body.
I mean, that's kind of as implausible as suggesting that the hydrogen and oxygen in your cells somehow splits and manages to combust somehow. I mean, I'm not discounting the possibility, but just purely based on the quantities involved, that, I mean, if you produced a lot of acetone, enough acetone to actually ignite, there's plenty of people following keto diets that would have serious flammability problems.
Yeah, I think so too. Right, so let's move on to some of our little videos, because we've been neglecting them, haven't we?
Bye, Helen.
Bye, Dear.
Oh my God, another one! Helen, no! What happened?
God must be very angry with us. But why? How have we angered you, Lord?
So we're getting to the SouthPark theory, which is completely different from the acetone one, right? Because that's going down the methane route, right?
Right.
I've heard about this. This is spontaneous combustion, but it usually only happens to fat people near open flames.
It usually only happens to fat people near open flames. Oh dear. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are just
right. So
geniuses.
So here we go. We're going to go down the SouthPark methane theory now. Okay, and I think this is the last theory before we move to my theory.
Okay, exciting.
Mr. Marsh?
The little boy combusted because he had a new girlfriend. It wasn't the girl that caused him to combust. It was the fact that Kenny did not want to pass gas in front of her.
Right? So he didn't want to pass gas. And we've all been there with a new bird, you know. You don't want to let one go in front of her in case it turns her off, yeah?
Oh, well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So
You want
so
to kind of try and keep that going through the relationship as well.
so you're
Jesus.
keeping that methane in there. So now we're into the full explanation of the theory, and I think this is brilliant. This is a brilliant explanation of this theory. It's completely flawed and debunked, but it's brilliant.
C. As food is digested, the natural processes give off a byproduct known as methane gas. The methane gathers here in the bowel area where it causes pressure. Normally, a person would expel this buildup in the form of a pleasant fart. Should the gas not be expelled, the methane can build up and then ignite, leading to disaster.
Are you okay? So the question is, right, what would cause it to ignite inside your stomach? Where would the spark come from that would ignite methane gas inside your bowel?
I don't know. I mean, I can perfectly believe that the pressure could build up and you might rupture your bowel, but I can't see how it would ignite. I mean, even
I
if
can't see it either.
even if you swallowed a match or something.
I know.
No, so I don't think SouthPark is where we should be going to try and solve the mystery of spontaneous human combustion.
Indeed. And remember, we're not trying to solve the mystery of, if we think about it, the majority of spontaneous human combustion is solved in that it is generally the wick effect. It's like the burning I attended. It's people that have partially immolated themselves, not immolated themselves, but inadvertently immolated through a dropped light or an ember or something, or they've had some kind of medical episode and then things have overtaken them and, you know, the body has burned using the wick effect. And that's probably the majority, but there are still these ones, especially the one with witnesses, where people have caught fire for no apparent reason and no apparent...
But there has to be a reason.
Well, yes,
Even
and
if we don't know
we're
what that
coming
reason
to
is,
that.
there
We're
has to
coming
be a
to
reason.
that.
Okay.
It's my theory, right? So they've caught fire for no apparent reason that can be discerned by the people investigating it, but they've left themselves a pile of ash. I mean, one guy was obviously going to the toilet, and he was in the bathroom. His Zimmer was against the bath, right? And there was a hole in the floor that his body had burnt through and left a pile of ash on the, you know, the room below, right?
Holy shit. Okay.
His 2 feet were still upstairs.
How? Hang on.
Yeah. Yes.
But where?
How?
If his no, hang on. Explain this to me. If
So
he
the
burned
guy-
a hole in the floor to the point there was ash in the room below,
Yeah.
how the hell were his feet still there?
Well, because he'd fallen, obviously, right? So he was stretched out in the bathroom.
Oh, right. He wasn't stacked. Right,
and
got it.
and his torso and whatever had burnt the way through the floor, leaving the feet behind on this occasion. I mean, I've seen the picture. There's a picture.
Yeah.
It's real, you know. And the thing is, if I put the picture up, we end up with
Don't put the picture up.
one of those stupid what's it called, things that, you know, this video contains material that may be whatever, you know.
But
put
which
you off
means
your
that
dinner.
he burnt somehow.
Uh-huh.
How? But if he was lying on the ground,
Wooden
when-
floor.
yeah, but how the feet still survive? Because if
But
if
he was lying
spontaneously
flat out.
combusted, yeah, but if he spontaneously combusted standing up, or was he lying
Well,
down?
I
and then
don't
he
know if he.
spontaneously combusted?
I don't know if he fell over and then caught fire or whatever. I mean, you never know because the Zimmer was at an angle against the bath, right?
Right, but then the feet still didn't get burnt. Very
Well,
strange.
no, but the feet don't get burned because the feet don't have enough fat. That's the problem.
Oh, right, understood. Got it. Yeah, because it's
Right.
all just muscle and tendons.
Exactly. And tendons are probably the thing that's going to outlast everything, even bone to a degree, because tendons are kind of inert. They're just like straps of rubber, I mean, you try chewing one, you know, it takes ages. You can't really chew it. But anyway, regardless of that, we'll come back to reality.
Just going off on your cannibalistic fantasy again. Jesus. What the hell is wrong with Scottish people anyway?
So then we've got. So I think have we finished with that? Hold on, there's one last thing. There you go, and this is the advice from South Park.
I know you all hate me, but please, for your own sake, fart in moderation.
So their theory was that if you just farted, it would stop people self combusting, but it was going to affect the atmosphere and cause a hole in the ozone layer. So they weren't to hold it in, but they weren't to do it all the time. They were just to fart in moderation. I mean, the whole thing's ridiculous. But you know, that is actually one of the genuine theories as to how to explain spontaneous human combustion. But no one really nails it. And I think I may have done it. I'm not blowing my own trumpet too much here. Well, maybe I am, but I think I could be in line for a Nobel Prize here, right? With the kind of thinking that's come out of left field. So, have you heard of mitochondria?
Yes, of course I have.
Right, so mitochondria are the little engines inside every cell that produce the energy that we need to keep living. And they use the fuel that we ingest to do that. And every cell has mitochondria, and every fat cell has mitochondria as well. And we have a certain degree of brown fat, which is fat we're born with, and we're told that really you can't expand or contract that brown fat. That's what you've got, and you'll always have that. And that's stuffed full of mitochondria, and that's why it's brown, because it's got so much mitochondria in it that it turns it brown. Right? And that fat is purely designed to cause heat, right? It's not there to fuel your muscles or anything like that. All that fat does is cause heat. And they think the idea was that it was there for newborns to stay warm until their body got to such a mass that it was able to start generating heat properly.
Right. Okay.
So that's brown fat. And then you get regular fat, which is white or sometimes beige, because you can start to overload. You can but through eating different things and doing different things, like you know how you see what's his name, Wim Hof and all that, the cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That can actually start to increase your level of not brown fat, but beige fat, because it makes your fat produce more mitochondria, because your body's being shocked to continue to try and produce extra heat.
Yeah.
And then we get these new drugs now, like Ozempic and other things like that, right, which are taking advantage of the mitochondria. And they're doing what's called uncoupling it. So you're uncoupling mitochondria. And when you uncouple it, what they mean is they are no longer producing energy for you to do your day-to-day life, to keep your body ticking over, to do the energy that you need to move, to sustain your heart rate, to keep pumping blood and all that. They're not providing that. They're just producing heat. And the beauty is that heat just can evaporate off. But if you get to the stage where you've got so much mitochondria and you're producing so much heat, could it be that you are pushing towards spontaneous human combustion? Now couple that with a keto diet and alcohol consumption. That could be the perfect storm.
Well, yeah.
It could be, couldn't it? And I'm not just talking through my nose here.
No, it holds together. I've been listening to you, and it does. The theory does make logical sense for someone who isn't that familiar with human bodies and all this kind of thing. But yeah, I'll give you that one. You do have.
I thought you were going to say it makes logical sense for someone who isn't on that who isn't that logical on most occasions. Anyway, little video for us.
Right. So, and the mitochondria in the brown and the beige fat are just producing heat. I mean,
Correct.
it doesn't do
They're-
any work.
Yeah, they're producing heat. And the reason they're producing heat is we now know that brown fat is very uncoupled compared to other mitochondria. And brown fat, we think originally, was designed to keep infants warm before they got enough calories in to sustain their own life.
So as you can see, I've taken basic sound theory and I've run with it, you know. And I think there might be something in this. I think it's something that people should be examining. And I think if you want to go out there, any scientists out there that are watching us out of our 11 viewers, remember and include me. You know, hit me up and I'll give you my full details so you can add me to the paper. You know, MSc, BA.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen somehow.
Yeah.
I
So
don't
there we
think
go.
that-
That's my theory. I think spontaneous human. I mean, I think spontaneous human combustion does occur, right? On very, very, very rare occasions, right? So we're discounting the wick effect stuff. That's accidental human combustion, I would say. But I think spontaneous human combustion can occur.
I don't doubt it. I mean, we know all kinds of crazy things happen. All kinds of crazy things can happen in this world. So the possibility that I don't know. I've seen too much crazy shit, and I've heard about equally crazy shit to say that these things aren't possible.
Yeah.
But again, it's something that you'd have to actually see it to believe it for sure. But then it's not the kind of thing you ever really want to witness because you'd be scarred for life. And it's
Well,
definitely not the
that's-
sort of thing you want to have happen to yourself because being immolated is not not a good way to go.
I think, to be fair, most of the people that this happens to are beyond the point of feeling, you know, which is a good thing, as you said, because it's just not the way you want to go. I mean, maybe this is why I'm such a, see you next Tuesday, because I have seen some pretty horrible things in my time. I mean, one of the worst is soup, right?
What's that?
We used to call it when you get sent to soup, you know. Somebody would phone in and go, "There's a horrible smell coming from the flat downstairs," and we're like, "Oh no." And then you'd draw lots as to who had to go, because you just knew this was going to be. And you know, I'm being candid here, right? This is what we were like in the police in the 80s. And you would be drawing lots, or if you were the sergeant, you would go, you'd send the probationer, right? So go and see what all that's about. And they'd turn up at the door, and you'd open the letterbox and take a tentative sniff, right? The sniff test. And they'd be like, "Oh no, that's not good." So you'd then phone in and go, "Yep, it's looking like soup. Should we put the door in?" And control room would come back and go, "Yeah, put the door in." Right? So we'd put the door in. You'd go in and you'd be like, "Oh my God," right? And you would head straight to the bathroom, right? Because you just know they died in the bath. And they turned to soup. It is one of the grossest, horriblest smells and things you will ever see. Especially when they've been in there for 2 weeks. In the summer. Just disgusting.
Even just the thought of it is making me go green. That's not. Ugh. And I'm sure police still have to deal with that to this day. No doubt.
Well, yeah, of course they do.
I wonder if they still call it soup.
I don't know. I mean, they've probably got some kind of politically correct name for it now. We go to a couple.
They probably give it a number or something.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, there was a whole code system for like 63, I think, was a sudden death.
Yeah, but I'm sure that police officers, because words like that will get passed down, And I bet you it'd be really
Yeah.
interesting. It would actually be interesting to ask a serving police officer whether they still call it soup. You'd probably ask them, and the guy. It's like if you happen to be in a pub, and you're talking to a police officer, and you say, "Oh, do you guys still call that thing where you find a dead body soup?" And they probably just go green and throw up a little bit in their mouths. Oh dear! Don't you? How long does it take you to get the smell of that out of your nose?
Oh, it takes ages. You know what used to be really good as well? Spangles. Spangles are brilliant for doing that. I used to. Do you remember Spangles? No?
No.
So Spangles were like hard fruit, sweets you would suck.
Right.
They were only yellow boiled sweets, but they were small. They were in a square tube. They were called Spangles, and they were fruity flavoured. But they had they were quite strong, and they were brilliant if you were going to a post-mortem or something. Because post-mortem smell, with the best will in the world, even if the body's refrigerated, it still smells, once you start cutting it apart. And Spangles are good for kids. It's the smell more than anything. It's always the smell that gets you.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate that I've never had to smell anything like that in my life.
Yeah.
No
But
thanks.
yeah. So
This is one of the things you don't think about when you join the police. Is having.
I
to
can tell you horror
deal
stories, mate.
Deal with some of the most unpleasant smells you're ever going to encounter in your whole life.
I mentioned this on one of the shows the other night. Was the guy with brittle bone disease that ran into a car on his push bike. His head exploded and bits of brain were found floating in milk on the front passenger seat because the person they hit had just come back from the shops. Things like that, that's not good.
No.
People caught in fires, especially car fires and things. That's just horrific. That is absolutely. I mean, I remember there was one in Cambuslang. There was a horrible crash on the high street, and women got trapped in the car, and the car caught fire, and nobody couldn't get to her because of the flames. And the fire brigade, even by the time the fire brigade turned up, she was dead.
Horrific.
It was horrific, and the inspector took everyone back to the office and brought out a bottle of whiskey and gave everybody a shot of whiskey and sat down and had a chat with them all, just for half an hour before everybody went home. And these days,
this is how we did HR in the 80s.
Yeah, but that works, because it's a joint experience, and you're all having it, and
you need a bloody drink after something like that.
And
Christ,
you've got
if you
to
don't
go
drink,
for it.
You're gonna have a shot of whiskey.
You have a shot of whiskey, and everybody gets in their car and drives home, right? Oh, shock horror! It was the fucking 80s.
Well, yeah, but it's everything up until we got to the current kind of purple head woke, like health and safety fanny brigade.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
The answer to pretty much everything was either a shot of whiskey or a shot of brandy. It's like if you're in shock, oh yeah, have a brandy. It's just like, I mean, that's.
I'm sorry, Janet says I'm currently eating chicken Kiev. One thing, right, Janet? A couple of points. One, it's 10 to 10. Why are you still eating? Right. Two, why the fuck are you eating chicken Kiev?
Don't we have to call it a chicken Kiev now?
Oh, well, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I don't. I've never called it that, but I remember when they changed, because all the supermarkets changed all the packaging on the chicken. So they call it chicken Kiev.
I just can't. I can't get over how everybody can jump to supporting something that, or a country that.
It's like actual NAZIs. I mean,
yeah, I know.
And not just that, but some of the worst ones. It's like there are the Ukrainian NAZIs.
Mm-hmm.
Even the German ones, like the worst of the German ones, looked at them and said, "I want nothing to do with those crazy bastards."
Exactly. I mean, Rod Stewart got a fucking rising reception in Germany the other day, didn't he?
Oh yeah, no, that was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. It's just
What?
it's seeing the I don't want to call them the elite, but the ruling classes so utterly and completely out of touch with everybody else.
Mhm.
And because of the internet, everybody knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still spouting blatant lies, but
Oh, yeah, I know.
everybody knows that they're talking out of their asses.
Yeah.
And it's just it blows my mind sometimes that they can still think they can pull it off. I mean, it's just absolute craziness.
I know.
Um,
That's crazy.
but yeah, so I don't know. They're going to rename them again because we all know they're going to have to.
Did you see? Did you see Putin and Kim having
Yeah,
a ball in
I love that.
in the car?
Yeah,
It's like it looks. It
it's-
looks like a version of Top Gear that I'd actually watch.
Yeah, no, I thought it was hilarious. But the thing is that the one thing that I've learned interacting with Russians on Twitter is that they have an absolutely wicked sense of humor.
Yeah.
I mean, both wicked as in funny, but wicked as in just slightly
Brutal.
to the left. Yeah, slightly to the left of being dark and evil.
Yeah.
But they're absolute masters of the troll, and it's just like that. It was the same with the hug in. I'm not because I didn't see she give Putin give Kim Jong Un a hug, but
Oh yeah,
I
he
mean,
did.
did he? Yeah, because
Yeah,
they
he
were
did
like,
the old.
yeah, and
I mean, he didn't kiss, but he did the head movement. You know.
yeah, and I mean personally, I love it because our own governments are on the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
And there's a peace offer in Ukraine that's
Mhm.
been floated. Everybody basically knows now what the Russians want, and the fact that nobody's sitting down and talking and they're just throwing. The most recent stat I
It's
heard
just not
today
what
from Alexander Mercurius on the Duran, which
Uh-huh.
everybody should be watching and following, by the way. No, it wasn't. It was Judge Knapp talking to.
Everybody should be watching and following Judge
Oh yeah,
Nat.
but he was talking to Dr. Gilbert Doctorow, who's one of
Yeah,
the world's foremost experts on Russia,
Mhm.
and he said that there's 2,000 Ukrainians a day dying.
I can believe it.
I mean,
I mean, the mainstream media
it's-
won't tell you that, but
No.
yeah.
and I
But
mean,
yeah.
they need to stop. They're not getting anywhere. They're not going to win. It's just throwing meat into the grinder, and now they're talking about wanting to throw Europeans into the grinder. I mean, where does it end?
I hope Journeying John's feeling better. He's certainly been more. He's been here for the whole show tonight, and now he's
Yeah,
slagging our shirts. Tell me, Ed. I mean, you know this man. You know this. I'm assuming he's a man. I may be
Yes.
making an inappropriate assumption, but
No,
I'm assuming male.
I've known him for over 30 years. And
So
he's-
tell me,
yeah.
is he the arbiter of sartorial elegance that he purports to be here? Is he?
Really isn't. He really isn't. I'm not going to actually go into any details. I'm just going to say, hell no, no, absolutely not. No. If you're a Dutch person on Koningsdag, where the whole of the Netherlands turns orange, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I saw that. That's when Lando Norris got his head cut. What does Vorlon mean?
Oh, Vorlons, that's Babylon 5.
Oh right, okay. I'm still haven't progressed beyond episode 1. Sorry.
Well, there was actually a Vorlon in episode 1.
Oh, what's a
That's-
Vorlon?
He's called Ambassador Kosh.
Is he the lizard guy?
No, he's like in a big suit with a big
Oh.
light on the front.
Oh, he's not the guy with the big hair. No.
No, that's Londo Mallory.
Oh right, okay. Bloody hell. Yeah. See, I mean, if it was Battlestar
You
or
should
Star
do-
Trek
you
or
should
something
do what
like
I
that.
did with Babylon 5 and don't start it at the end of season 2 and beginning of season 3,
Okay.
and then go back and watch the first season or 2 once you get into it, because that's where it starts to get really good. And then you'll have a lot of questions that you want to answer, and the questions mostly are answered in the first season. And by that time, you're enjoying the story enough that you can put up with all the bad acting and bad CGI and bad sets and cheapness and everything else. I mean, to be honest, it's one of those stories. Babylon 5 was ahead of its time.
Okay.
Because if you had the kind of CGI and stuff that we could do now, and you threw some budget at it, like they did with I don't know, shows like The Expanse, because if you watch The
The Expanse was brilliant.
Yeah, but you can see in that there's all sorts of little subtle references and hints to loads of other different sci-fi
Yes,
shows.
there are.
And one of those is Babylon 5, and it is you do have to kind of wade through it a bit, but try it again, but start, like I said, start towards the end of the second season and the beginning of the third season.
Do you watch The Boys at all?
Yeah, I did. I managed to get about halfway through the first season, and I'm sorry, but this whole concept of evil superheroes, it's just more than my inner child can bear. I'm sorry. I like to believe that there are still heroes in this world, and this whole notion that you have just also cocky, arrogant dicks.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really puts me off The Boys is Carl Urban's god-awful, sodding Cockney accent.
I think Carl Urban is the best thing about that. I really do think so.
Oh, I just can't do it with his accent.
I enjoy it. I don't mind, because I'm not English and I really don't give a fuck if he sounds genuine or not. I
don't care if he sounds genuine.
He makes a good effort at it, I think.
He doesn't. It's rubbish.
Oh, who cares? Who cares?
It's absolute rubbish.
Like Dave. He sounds fine.
I mean, he's Australian or New Zealander, isn't he?
Carl Urban? I have no idea. I don't care.
I thought he was like. I think he's.
I mean, I suppose. Well, I see your point. I suppose it's a bit like Mel Gibson and Braveheart. That's one of the worst fucking Scottish accents I've ever heard.
Or Sean
Murren.
Connery trying to be Spanish in Highlander.
What did he say in Highlander in Spanish?
Oh, I can't remember. No, you put me on the spot. I can't remember off the top of my head. But just Hollywood, eh?
Brandy infused sardines could be part of the solution. I know how to deal with them.
I don't have speaker problems anymore because I put the spikes down.
Just put a little bit of sodium inside a ball of paper.
No, bicarbonate. I don't want to hurt the bloody girls. I just want to stop them waking me up at 4:30 in the morning. And the amount of times that I've had to tell people on Twitter that I'm not actually going to stop feeding them. That I just want them to stop waking me up first thing in the bloody morning.
Yeah, but you trained them, mate. You rewarded bad behaviour. It's exactly like what Ben does with his kids.
They started tapping before I started feeding them. It was actually the guy that came to do my kitchen that started giving them bits of his lunch. And they are unbelievably persistent. Even if they're not getting any food, they would come 2-3 times a day and start tapping at the window.
Yeah, but eventually they would go away if you didn't feed them.
I don't mind feeding them. I just don't want to be feeding them at 4:30 in the morning for like 3 months of the summer.
I'm gonna put a comment up for you to see, Ed. Can you see the comments when I put them up?
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait, you put the spikes? Shalini, yes, it's on my. Yes, I put spikes on outside my bedroom window.
And of course, the first thing I said, I told you this 2 months ago.
I didn't want to have to do it, but it just, especially in the summer. I mean, in the winter, they come at a fairly civilized hour because they basically operate with the light. So I don't see them until 7-8 o'clock, which is fine most days, especially when I'm working. And even if it's weekend, it's still a reasonably civilized time that you've managed to get a few hours proper sleep. But 4:30 in the morning, I'm not nice to anyone at 4:30 in the morning, especially not a seagull.
Why would you be?
And I mean, I could have put spikes outside the kitchen window as well, but I didn't because I do. I mean, I do love the little guys, but just not when it's tapping like a meter away from my head at 4:30. That's true.
There you go.
Don't you ever get bored with that?
No, not at all. Why would I? It's just perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I've had a good evening.
No, it's been fun.
Yeah, it has. Thank you very much.
No, it's good. I've learned a few things as well. It's always nice.
Yeah, and I don't think we needed to show all the gory details. I think we did it justice enough in our speech and our wit and repartee.
And leaving plenty to the imagination. I mean, it's a good thing because if people are eating chicken keeves while we're on the thing and we're showing pictures of incinerated bodies, I mean, you're not gonna enjoy your.
Although basically all these pictures of this tend just to look like an ashtray with a couple of fags hanging out the end.
And a pair of feet.
That's what I mean. The feet and lower leg would be the doubts,
There's actually an idea for a range of garden ashtrays in there. You could do a little ashtray with 2 feet, and it looks like this incinerated body.
You could. Wait, that could be our next merch. Rabbit hole merch. Would you buy it? The spontaneous human combustion ashtray. People still use ashtrays. I was actually astounded the other day because the guy down the stairs does car detailing, and I walked down the stairs the other day and there was a car waiting to be cleaned. It was an Audi TT and the ashtray was fucking overflowing. I didn't realise people actually still used ashtrays in their car. In fact, I actually didn't realise cars still had ashtrays.
I have a theory that one of the reasons that the people are such a nightmare on the roads is because nobody smokes anymore.
So they got to get their frustrations out somehow.
Well, cigarettes are excellent at dealing with road rage when you're driving.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right, okay. Thank you very much, Ed. I've had a great time. Thank you, everyone that's come along and enjoyed us. I'm sure the people that are watching Ben can fuck off and watch Ben. Anyway, sorry, I'm sure they'll watch us later.
Don't get jealous now, John.
No, I'm not jealous, mate. I'm not jealous.
But thanks, guys. It's been fun.
It has been fun. And if you like this and want more, like, share, and subscribe. It costs you nothing, but tell other people, and then we can maybe start to build, because we really need to get to 2,000 subs. It's only 200 away, a little bit of a push, get in there, give us a push. So, see you tomorrow night for Chasing Descent All In, and we'll be back as always next Thursday for Red. And to be fair, we are doing most evenings now at 9 o'clock to try and build the channel. So feel free to drop in anytime you like. Ed, have you anything you'd like to mention?
No, just to say thank you to everyone who tuned in, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks for having me on again.
Oh, you're a damn lovely chap.
As are you.
It's always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure.
Likewise, mate.
And it's been great for you.